Yeah, so it's been quite a while since I've posted a Feedback Friday video, and I'm sorry about that, man. But I'm not quite a full-time YouTuber like some, and I've got a lot of stuff to take care of. Life must go on. In my previous video, I actually shared some of the stuff that's been happening. So I'm not going to talk too much nonsense this time around. I've got a lot of emails received, a whole string of them, with photos of projects that you guys are busy with, and I'd like to share those. So just a few things before we have a look. There's something I would like to mention. I always receive these comments from someone called Ray's Laughs and Lyrics that I really enjoy a lot. You should check out his comments. They're very good, very funny. He mostly does like a little rhyme or a poem. I'm going to read you one that I received recently. I quote, "Work done by Wayne saves Div some pain. Shoeless is his way, no socks, it's okay. French and German meld, machine, wrench and weld. All this might stifle a third world war, thanks to forest engineering over there." He's referring obviously to this build behind me, the little Renault bug, where I'm busy merging the Renault with the Beetle floor pan. So I've also started work on my waste oil burner that I mentioned in the previous video. It's still a work in progress, but once I get it up and running, I'll show you guys. Hopefully I can get it to work properly. We'll have to find out. Okay, so then without further ado, let's have a look at some photos of the projects that you guys are busy with. As you can see, I've got a long list of emails here, so we better get right into it. And yes, if I do not respond to every single email, please forgive me. It's actually becoming a little bit too much, but I will get to each and every one over time, I promise. First up today is Scooter from Edmore in Michigan. He's got quite a few projects lined up that he's waiting for him and that he wants to get going on. First one is a 64 Chevy C10, short step side. He's got plans for lowering it. He wants to do an LS swap and maybe even some shiny paint. Then he's got a 1950 Chevy Styling Deluxe that currently still runs and drives, with a 235 and a 3 on a tree. He's thinking of lowering it on bags, and he wants to upgrade the complete driveline, and then he wants to do some serious body modifications. And then he's got this very interesting 1961 American Rambler wagon. And here he's also looking at suspension upgrades and an LS swap, with a patina paint job and a lace roof. And finally, what he has is a 1939 Dodge Power Wagon, or what's left of it. Sitting on a mid-30s Ford frame, and he's planning for this to be an OG rat build. So yes, Scooter, you've got quite a bit of work lined up there, my man. Scooter also writes that he is looking at possibly starting up a YouTube channel with these projects. And he said that I've inspired him to do this. Well, good luck, my brother. It can be quite a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it if you persist. So once you get going, let us know. John Kayer is working on a 1928 Whippet Model 96. It's a two-door sedan that he's converting to a pickup. It's chopped 3 inches. The roof center panel is cut out from a 1958 Pontiac 4-door roof, and he made the sides above the doors from 20-gauge sheet metal himself. John says he's planning to use a 1970 C10 250 inline 6. Well, nothing wrong with a straight 6, my man. My Rogue Rat runs a Chevy 4.1 liter straight 6, and I love that engine. And here's also a photograph of a planishing hammer that he made himself after being inspired of one of my videos I posted. And look at his dies, he shaped them from old bolts. That's quite innovative, I think. Well done, man. Brian O'Rocky is in Clovis, California, and he bought this 1929 Ford Model A Tudor sedan last summer from a friend. He basically only used the body and donated most of the rest of it to the local Model A club. He bought his own chassis and triangulated rear folding suspension with a 98 Mustang rear differential. He's planning to run a Chevy small block that will be attached to a turbo 350 transmission. The chassis is bagged in the rear with a dropped axle in the front. He's chopped the body 5 1/4 inches and it will remain metal finished. The seats are children's gaming chairs that has been cut down and modified. And he says they are quite comfortable. Brian says this is his first car build, although he's built several race cars. And he hopes to be on the road this summer, at least in a semi-complete state. And finally, here's a pic of a very cool bicycle that Brian built. Just look at this thing. That's quite something, eh? Oh, well done. Craig Godfrey from Oshawa, Ontario, Canada sent in a picture of his 63 GMC. He writes, "This was completely rusty halfway up, and it was a pleasure working on it from floors to doors." Nice one, Craig. Mike States from Idaho writes, "My new build is to put this 1960 VW Bug on a 1985 Toyota 4x4 chassis. The plan is to widen the fenders, graft a step-side bed into the back of the Bug. It will have a Baja roof rack and a roof-mounted radiator." He says winter is almost over and I build outside under a carport, so I'm hoping to get the body mounted by early summer. Interesting project. Some of you might remember Mike. We featured his 39 Chevy earlier in the year. And here are some pictures from a South African gearhead. Anthony van Niekerk from Carltonville. He shared some pictures of his Triumph build. And then there's quite a radical little Mini here with a V6 engine in it. That's quite an unusual street rod. And then his latest project is a Borgwood Isabella station wagon. Well, Anthony, you certainly seem to be busy. Rather too many than too little, I say. Some of you might remember Bob Waldock from Minnesota, because earlier we shared his Rio build. Now, I think Bob is the oldest car builder we have here so far. He's already 82 years old, and there's just no stopping him. Because now he's busy with this 63 Renault Dauphine. He's put a complete frame under it. Front tube axle is on parallel leaf springs with a rack and pinion steering. Coil springs in the rear supporting an 8.8 Mustang diff. And up front he's got a 350 Chevy engine with power glide transmission. And I had to laugh at this little sentence. He too has to sit partially in the back seat, even though his Renault is a bit bigger than my Renault Bug. Yeah, these little French cars, eh? Bob says it's been driven already, but it still needs some finishing. Well done, Baba. You keep at it, my man. My respects. And here's something quite a little bit different from down under. It belongs to Dennis, who lives in Queensland, Australia. He says he's put it together about 5 years ago, and it doesn't give much details. I'm actually not even sure exactly what it is. He says it does run an Australian Holden Commodore V6 modified engine. And that's the only info I have. Certainly something quite different. Reed from Louisiana sent in this pic of his car holder. And what's that thing on the back? It is a 2002 Camaro that he rescued from the crusher, and he turned it into what he calls the Grace car. He's got some other interesting things on the go as well. This orange and blue car is his first car which is a 1990 Mazda Miata with lots of changes obviously. And then look at this thing. It's a 1998 Saturn SL sedan that he turned into a camper that he pulls behind the Miata. And he says he's got a YouTube channel called Grace Car Driver Garage, if you want to go check out some more of his builds. Thanks for sharing your stuff with us. Amanda Lopez sent in this picture accompanied by only 2 short sentences. And it reads, I quote, rebuilt this from bottom up, fabricated a lot of things on it. End of quote. Not a lot of info, but interesting build. So Dennis from Washington State is a lucky man indeed. He was gifted this 1959 Chevy in 2019. And this is how it sat from 1985 until when he got it and gave it its first bath after all those years. Here it is after the bath, looking pretty good, but he writes that on closer inspection they found some serious rust in several spots that needed attention. Dennis further writes that in most of the bad rusted out areas are now repaired with fresh metal, and he will be moving forward to sealing it with epoxy primer this coming summer. He says since he lives in Washington State, it is currently a wet and cold winter there, and he doesn't have a heated shop, so he is impatiently waiting for summer to get here. Well Dennis, my shop is also not heated, but here it's a little bit the other way around. Our winter it's on its way, and whilst my cold is nothing like yours, I'm certainly not looking forward to it. Mick lives way down south in Tasmania, and he shared these pics, which is a little bit different to something that you normally see. It's a Toyota Dyna truck that he dragged out of a farmer's paddock where it was buried almost to the chassis and had been driven into the ground literally. He rescued it and had intended to part it out, but then decided to rebuild, leaving the patina pretty much as it was. Mick writes that the chassis is actually quite perfectly well preserved due to the fact that it spent its whole life in the high country and there is no serious rust anywhere. The driveline is stock, and with a few tweaks he got the thing to drive as good as a new one, if not better. Fitted the Weaver carb, fuel pressure regulator, electronic ignition. Mick further writes, this is not a rat rod per se, but when parked on the streets, it stops the peasant in their tracks, because most of them want pics. And his final words, remember this, the drum may be different, but the beat is the same. Cheers, Mick. Scotty Rowlands from Bowden in Georgia shared pics of an unusual 1955 Studebaker. He writes that he's had it for about 15 years and he's really been enjoying the car. Now that is definitely something very unusual. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for sending in your pictures. I always enjoy seeing what other gearheads get up to. And I find it amazing actually how gearheads all over the world, we are actually very similar. We share the same passions and the same mindsets in many ways, and I enjoy seeing that. Thanks for hanging out with me in the shop and enjoying these projects with me. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, have a lucky one, my brothers.
Whatever makes you happy, it just depends on you. So think a little bigger and